one of the things I wanted to speak about today was our evolutionary nature. And for many of us, when we read the spiritual text, we don't hear anything about evolution. And of course, that's because at the time of the Buddha, at the time of Christ, at the time of, Muhammad or the great yogis, evolution wasn't a thing. We didn't have any contextual understanding of it. And so most of our spiritual traditions were taught in this way, where we're trying to get somewhere beyond this realm, where we're trying to get, say, to heaven, like in a Christian context, like in this church here, in this temple. So much of the teachings focus on getting to heaven. In the Buddhist tradition, it's about getting to nirvana, waking up to the space of nirvana, and never having to be reborn again. But of course, if we look out at the night sky, here in Colorado, if we just look out at the mountains and you see the millions of years that are demonstrated in the layers of rocks, you see that God is a movement of intelligence, an intelligence that gave birth to itself and has grown through eons. And that same growth is happening within us. And so to have an accurate worldview of God, instead of seeing God just as something we get to, as a space of heaven where we get to that, we can see that God, yes, is vast, infinite perfection. Yes, that is true. But that simultaneously, God is continually giving birth to greater and greater forms of herself. And that manifests in the form of you and I and all these trees and the beautiful people you see. It manifests in the practice of yoga. It manifests in creating beautiful buildings like this wonderful church we're in. If you look out at life, you can see this movement of growth, this movement of intelligence everywhere. And so the invitation here is, can we connect with that intelligence? Can we connect with it? And so oftentimes when people think about connecting with intelligence, they look to their mind. But the mind that God has given us, that's what I call egoic intelligence, mental intelligence. Those are two different things. So egoic intelligence is our fight or flight response. It's that thing within us that, seeks pleasure and avoids pain at all costs. So we have that level of intelligence moving us. And God did create it. It's not a bad thing. It keeps us safe. I'm not a teacher who says that egos are bad. But above that, we have this mental intelligence, like pure reasoning, pure rationality. And you can see our legislators trying to use this in theory. They're trying to solve, the healthcare crisis, or, to govern a world or whatever. We use this when we are, like here on a college campus. We really connect with our mentality, and that's good. But higher than that, deeper than that, is this different kind of intelligence, the intelligence of the heart, intelligence of the divine. And so to be in touch with this higher intelligence, requires that we're humble, requires that we step back from ego, that we step back from our mentality which thinks it knows how life should be. And so when we step back from those perspectives and we step into our heart, we connect with something greater, a different kind of intelligence. An intelligence that's intuitive, that's quiet yet powerful, that knows right from wrong, good from bad. It knows what is true for us, like in the deepest sense of the word, true. And so the invitation is, can we connect with this truth? Can we connect with it? And in a very healing way, can we allow this truth to meet the lower levels of our mind, to meet the lower levels of our humanity? Can we allow this truth to flood into, say, the aspects of our ego, which are angry, or violent, or judgmental, or scared, or hurting? Can we allow this loving intelligence to hold that ego, to just gently meet it with love, to meet it with peace, to really sit with it and hold it and allow it, in a sense, to fizzle out? You know, some of you may think, well, what do you mean by that, fizzle out? Well, we all know what it's like when we're really struggling, you know, with some anger or some sadness. And if we breathe deeply into it, if we hold it from a place of love, if we choose not to touch it in the sense that we're not touching the thoughts that go with it, and we're not jumping on board, you know, if we're sad and we may have a thought, oh my God, I can't handle this is too much. So we don't touch that thought, we don't join with that thought, but we embrace the pain which is under that thought. We breathe into it. We hold the space of love for it, the same way a mother holds a child who's sick. You hold that child and you breathe into it. You don't believe the story of the child, you know, which is like, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm so sick, or whatever child may be thinking. But you breathe a deep sense of love into yourself. And as you breathe into that pain, as you breathe into that panic, what you find is that pain begins to dissolve, it begins to heal, it begins to release. And this takes a lot of courage. You know, I was speaking with someone earlier today about unworthiness. We're really working with the unworthiness. And so when we have this experience of unworthiness, you know, there's something within us which feels unloved and unlovable. And so from an evolutionary perspective, we may ask, well, how do I heal unworthiness? How do I heal that? And within an evolutionary context, how do I heal unworthiness? Well, first and foremost, you connect with that which is good, that which is true in your heart, that which is loving. You connect with your highest. And from this place of peace, from this place of love, you meet that place within you, that place that feels broken, that feels sad, that feels confused. You meet it with love. You meet it with love, and you sit with it, you hold it. And as I was, working with this lady today, she became very anxious, kind of agitated. I told her to close her eyes. She kept opening her eyes, like looking around the room. And so if we're working with unworthiness, and we want to make ourselves worthy, that requires that we sit with it in a deep way. We sit with it in a disciplined way. We hold a space of love and just breathe into that pain again and again and again. As a good parent, your job is to love your child unconditionally. But as a human being with a loving heart, your job is to love yourself unconditionally. And that means you sit with your pain. You sit with those feelings of unworthiness. And you breathe into them. You breathe and you breathe and you hold and you love. However long it takes until it dissolves, until it releases. I can think of things within me that I sat with, maybe for 6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe a year and a half. And I'd sit with it every day for an hour or two. As I would walk and I was in pain, I would breathe into this sadness or heartache. And I would work with it for years until it dissolved. And so as these evolutionary beings, we always have this choice. Can we connect to our highest? Can we deepen into our highest? And as we deepen into this place, can we meet every aspect of ourselves with love? And you see that evolution is a movement of love. It's a movement of compassion. You see that the wisest thing is not to escape to heaven. The most loving thing is not to escape this world, but to show up and love this world to death. In Buddhism, there's this teaching of the Bodhisattva path. Basically, the Bodhisattva path is connecting to your truth and walking into hell and bringing love. Bringing love, showing up as love. And as you do so, there's this funny thing that happens. Your essence grows. Your strength grows. Your divinity grows. It grows in its manifest form in the world. You are healed and the world is healed. And this is what the world needs now, is more people who are willing to show up and to love open-heartedly, courageously, in this way. The world doesn't need any more spiritual seekers who are looking to escape to heaven. What the world needs is more Buddhas here on earth, more Christs here on earth. Showing up in the everyday, ordinary form of you and I. As we join in this movement of divinity, our world grows, our world awakens.